Hello, in this video I'm going to give you the knowledge you need to enrich your worm's nutrition without the risk of protein poisoning posted by grain-based worm chows. Knowledge is power, and my goal here is to share with you a do-it-yourself recipe to make your own worm Biochow. This is a unique combination of carbon, sugars, and grit to fatten your worms without poisoning them with a high acidity feed. First, I am going to cover the science of worm chows and why they can destroy your worm colony. Second, I'm going to show you how to make nutrient-rich chow to optimize worm nutrition without using ingredients that can spike acidity and temperature inside your bin.
In the last section of the video, I cover the benefits of biochar as a soil amend and how it works as a microbial, coral reef, and a nutrient battery in your garden and your soil. So definitely stay tuned for that.
What we are talking about here is a recipe for highly stable and nutritious worm chow you can make right at home. Let's dive into the science of protein poisoning before I show you how to fatten worms safely. Everyone is chasing the big grower's secret, that high-protein worm chow that promises to turn your red wigglers into giants overnight. But most high-protein worm chow is a biological ticking time bomb. Commercial worm chow is essentially a high-protein steroid. It's a blend of grains like ground corn, oats, and soy. Bait growers use it because it creates a massive microbial bloom. But here's the paradox. Worms don't have teeth. They can't eat a grain of corn. What they do is to suck up a microbial soup. Think of a grain kernel like a giant uncooked brick. The worm has to wait for a construction crew of bacteria to turn that brick into soft moss. Traditional chow forces too many crews to work at once. It's like throwing high-octane fuel onto a fire without an engine to contain it. Here's the risk. When you add dry, high-protein grain, the decomposition process moves too fast. The nitrogen in the protein undergoes a violent transition. As nitrogen turns into ammonia in a closed bin, this leads to ammonia volatilization. It's toxic. It burns the worm's sensitive skin and causes a massive pH crash. If the worm swallows that fermenting grain, gases expand inside its gut. Because worms cannot pass gas, their intestines literally rupture. This is what is called protein poisoning or string of pearls, and it is 100% fatal to worms. Let's recap. Worms don't have a stomach, they have a crop and a gizzard. They rely on a calciferous gland to excrete calcium carbonate, which neutralizes the acids in the food they eat before it passes into their intestine. If you add too much high nitrogen green food, like grains, bread, or massive amounts of fruit, the food begins to rot and ferment before the worms can eat it. Fermentation produces an acidity spike because organic acids and alcohol cause the pH in the bin to plummet. Low pH equals high acidity. The worm's calciferous glands work over time to neutralize the acid. But if there isn't enough calcium in the bin, the gland fails. When acidic food enters the worm's intestine, because the bin is overwhelmed with grain chow, it ferments inside the worm. Because worms cannot pass gas, the byproduct ammonia and carbon dioxide expands, creating the pearls and eventually killing the worm from the inside out. If you want to push for growth without the crash, you need a stable carbon-based catching system for your bin. If you haven't seen my video on maximizing your worm population, make sure you watch that next to ensure your ecosystem is ready for high-performance feeding. Let's now answer the main question behind this video. How do you push growth and reproduction without compromising the health of your worms? The recipe for Biochow is simple. First, you want to get the best microfuel for a worm bin, which is blended vegetable scraps. Second, you need the grit and a buffer in the form of pulverized eggshells or bone meal. And last, the key ingredient of Biochow, which is the structure for microbial habitat in the form of vegetable charcoal, commonly known as biochar. Technically speaking, vegetable charcoal becomes biochar once it is inoculated with organic matter rich in nutrients and microorganisms. However, in the context of permaculture, vegetable charcoal is often referred to as biochar because of its intended use as a biologically rich soil amend.
Hey, do me a favor, please click like and subscribe to my channel and share this information, share this video with folks that are going to benefit from getting this information, because what I'm trying to...
Let's talk about pillar number one, the fuel. Liquefied vegetable food scraps trigger what scientists call the sleeping beauty paradox. This means as you break vegetable tissue into small particles, you release an immediate boost of nitrogen to wake up dormant microbes. Remember, worms eat microorganisms. My favorite source of fuel for BioChow is pulp from a juicer because that is high-quality vegetable matter without excess fluids. Because the juicer extracts a lot of the water from the vegetables, you end up with just the right amount of moisture in the pulp to mix the rest of the ingredients. The vegetable scraps serve as the fuel, similar to grain in commercial worm chow. The difference is that vegetable kitchen scraps do not have the same concentration of energy that grains do. Remember, plants store a lot of energy in their seeds? This means when you compare one portion of vegetable scraps to one portion of grain, there is less excess nitrogen in vegetable scraps to spike acidity in your bin. Moreover, less energy release means the temperature in your bin is a lot more likely to remain stable if you feed vegetable scraps than if you add grain. If you don't believe me, try adding a pound of oats to a worm bin and watch the temperature skyrocket.
Here you can see the worms. I put the BioChow about a week ago, and now they have fully taken over that material and they are feeding exclusively in the section where I put the BioChow. That's a sign that this stuff is working. There is a lot of microorganisms and the acidity level of that material is pretty stable, which is the reason why worms will be willing to congregate in that area.
Next, let's talk about the second pillar, which is the acidity buffer. Even though with vegetable scraps you don't get the same level of fermentation you get with grains, vegetable scraps do undergo fermentation as they break down in a worm bin, which also causes acidity to go up. Therefore, you need to add a buffer to neutralize acidity. Pulverized eggshells are the main source of calcium carbonate. I used to neutralize acidity and provide grit to my worms. In addition to crushed eggshells, I also add pulverized bone meal because the soil in my garden is low in phosphorus. Think about the buffer as acidity insurance. An added bonus of bone meal is that it has nitrogen and trace minerals, but in contrast to the nitrogen in the food scraps, the nutrients in bone meal will be released slowly over time. If you are going to add bone meal, make sure it is fine enough for worms to use as grit. Now that we covered the fuel and the buffer, let's get to what makes BioChow the ultimate worm feed. Pillar number 3 is Biochar, and Biochar creates a stable, carbon-rich material used primarily to improve soil health, increase water nutrient retention, and sequester carbon to fight climate change. Biochar is porous, lightweight, and provides habitat for beneficial microbes, making soils more resilient and productive for years. In the context of BioChow, Biochar provides a structure for the microorganism awakened by the food scraps to thrive and form long-enduring colonies worms can graze on for weeks. Simply put, Biochar stabilizes the microbial ecosystems in your bin by providing housing. As I explained in the video Worms and Biochar, 1 gram of char is equivalent to a 9,000 square foot microbial apartment complex. Think about it this way. The standard fiber and food scraps are a flat parking lot, while each gram of biochar is a skyscraper.
One of the benefits of working with biochar is that this material is naturally very stable. That means it's not going to burn your worms if you add too much of it. The main concern about adding fresh biochar into your bin is that it absorbs humidity. So if your bin is already dry, the biochar could potentially absorb too much humidity from that bin. However, if you're mixing the biochar as part of BioChow, you don't have to worry about that because the biochar is primarily going to be absorbing a lot of the moisture that is already present in the liquefied food scraps. This also allows you to store the food scraps in your fridge for a long period of time because the biochar stabilizes them, so you don't have to worry about them becoming really smelly or too watery inside of your bin. So I can keep my BioChow in the fridge, not in the freezer, for up to 1 week, and the texture, the consistency remains pretty much the same. Another benefit of doing that is that the microorganisms that start to colonize the food scraps, they start to colonize the biochar even before you add them to the bin.
Risk. Here is a pro tip. Let your BioChow sit for 24 hours before feeding. This allows the char to soak the juice from the fruit scraps and microbes already present in them. You can also add a small amount of bokashi bran to add some of those essential microorganisms before the chow even hits the bin. The next section of the video, I am going to nerd out a bit to help you understand how biochar works and why this stuff is a total game changer. In the world of soil science, we often describe biochar as a battery. Now, it doesn't generate electricity, but it has this extraordinary ability to store and release the two things a living ecosystem needs most: nutrients and microorganisms. And here's the best part. Unlike compost, which eventually breaks down and disappears, biochar is a permanent structural upgrade. Once you add it to your soil or your worm bin, it's there for good. So, how does this battery actually work? Well, it starts with the physical architecture. I like to think of it as a microscopic hotel. As I said before, biochar is created through a process called pyrolysis, basically heating organic matter without any oxygen. This creates a structure that is incredibly porous. To give you an idea of the scale, just 1 single gram of high-quality biochar can have the surface area of several tennis courts. Inside that hotel, you have two types of rooms. First, you have the macropores. These are like bunkers for beneficial microbes. They're large enough for bacteria to hide in, protecting them from predators and sudden changes in the environment. Then, you have the micropores. These are tiny channels that act like sponges, holding onto water and dissolve nutrients so they don't just wash away the first time it rains. This leads us to the second way biochar acts as a battery, the nutrient battery, or what scientists call cation exchange capacity, CC. Think of the surface of biochar like a magnet. It's naturally negatively charged, which allows it to grab and hold on to essential plant nutrients like potassium and calcium, which are positively charged. This prevents these key nutrients from leaching out of the soil. As biochar continues to interact with the elements and ecosystems in your soil, it slowly releases those nutrients, which is exactly what your plants need. Here's a pro tip. If you put raw wood charcoal straight into your soil, that empty battery will actually suck nutrients out of the dirt to fill its pores, which can temporarily starve your plants. However, when you add charcoal to your worm bin, whether as biochow or just on its own, the nutrient-rich environment of the bin charges the char for you. The worms and microbes do the heavy lifting, turning that raw charcoal into a fully loaded biochar battery. Finally, we have the microbial battery. In a garden or a worm bin, microbial populations can be a bit volatile. A heat wave or a pH spike can wipe out billions of bacteria in an instant. This is where biochar becomes a microbial reservoir. It's a safe house where microbes can retreat during harsh conditions. Once things settle down, the biochar acts as a base of operations, allowing those microbes to head back out and recolonize the soil. It even encourages the growth of biofilms, which are those complex little communities of life that break down organic matter into the food your plants crave. So, when you use biochar, you aren't just adding an amendment, you're installing a permanent life support system for your soil ecosystem.